I'd like to call to order the special 2024-2025 budget adoption meeting on May 29, 2024. We need a motion for the attendance via electronic for Phyllis Byram.
A motion is needed pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.3, subsection B1, to allow Board Member Phyllis Byram to participate in tonight's special meeting of the school board through electronic communication means from her residence due to a medical condition that prevents her physical attendance at tonight's meeting.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve her electronic attendance.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Board members, please vote. Board Member Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Brooks-Buck?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair Jenkins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. We also need a motion for the meeting attendance electronic device for Kimberly Slingloff.
A motion is needed pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.3, subsection B4, to allow Board Member Kimberly Slingloff to participate in tonight's special meeting of the school board through electronic communication means from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, due to a personal matter in that she is vacationing with her family and unable to attend tonight's meeting.
So move.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Are you ready to vote? Clerk, please.
May I ask a question? Who seconded the motion?
I did.
Okay, Dr. Buck. Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Dr. Brooks-Buck?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair Jenkins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. We are waiting for them to come in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
They are.
They heard you coming.
Can you all hear us?
Yes.
Ms. Barron? We can't hear you.
Tell her to unmute.
Are you muted?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome, welcome. We will move
Okay.
on. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Vice Chair, will you please read the mission statement?
Sure. The mission of Suffolk Public Schools is to produce 21st century learners that will become productive citizens in society, foster a dynamic, safe, and nurturing learning environment, partner with school community for the benefit of students and staff, strengthen the school division by employing a highly qualified and diverse staff, effectively and efficiently manage capital and human resources, and effectively communicate to increase community investment.
Thank you. Now we will pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Now we will move to new business, school board approval budget 2024-2025 adoption. And I just want to say that we will have a discussion of anything that is new, but the budget has already been approved at our last board meeting, so there should be no questions based on what is already approved. We're just adopting this one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you just put, the board previously approved the budget on March 25th. The budget that we are asking for the school board to approve today is the same budget from March 25th, which was based on the governor's budget. As we all know, the General Assembly got back together on May 13th, and a budget was formalized on May 16th. Unfortunately, that was after the city council had already appropriated their money for the school division on May 1st. So we must go in order and making sure that we are consistent with the amount that was actually approved at your meeting as well as appropriated by city council on May 1st. The second item that you will see on here is a discussion of an amendment based on the final budget that was given out by the state and how that money is going to be used for our 3% increase for staff as well as to cover health benefits. I will be discussing that as a part of our discussion items later on. I also want to reiterate to the board and to the school community that it is imperative that the board adopts the budget today. As you all know, today is May 29th, and we have to give contracts out for staff. And that adoption will need to be able to take place so that we can get contracts out by Monday at the latest. We're targeting Friday for that, for our staff to be able to sign their contracts for the 24-25 school year. So I'm going to call our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Wendy Forsman, up to the podium. She's going to give a brief review of what has been presented to you all of my February 29th superintendent's proposed budget and what was voted on March 25th, and then we will go from there. Ms. Forsman?
Thank you. Good evening. As Dr. Gordon said, we're just going to review very quickly the approved budget that was sent to the city, that the city then gave us our money based on that budget. So if you remember that budget, as Dr. Gordon said, you approved it on March 25th, included a step raise only for staff at that point. And so we just have the step raise in there. We included an additional classroom, pre-K classroom at Booker T. Washington, which included the teacher, teacher assistant, some furniture and equipment that was needed. There were 39.4 positions in that budget, including a dean for John F. Kennedy Middle School and that pre-K teacher. The CARES Act, teacher assistants moving over to the operating fund, 33 of those. A teacher assistant for that pre-K classroom. And then we have to, as we've been converting part-time, permanent part-time positions to full-time, that conversion was 3.4 in the budget. So a total of 39.4 positions. The approved budget, as you know, was $242.7 million, or 6.59% increase. And the operating fund portion of that was $198.1 million. The personnel investment in that budget, which includes all the personnel that we've just discussed, $4.5 million. That's the personnel and the raise, the step raise. Other operating costs were $3.5 million. And if you go back to that presentation, we detailed that out very much for you in that presentation. So I'm not going to run through all those slides again, but we detailed each and every one of those out. So you can see here that that original budget that we approved, that you approved and we sent to the city was $8.1 million. Questions on that section?
Thank you. So now we move to the resolution. So now we need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the budget approved from March 25th.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are we ready to vote?
No, you don't have to read the resolution. The motion is on the resolution that's in the agenda.
Second again, I'm sorry.
Not second.
Board members, please vote. Board member Dr. Brittingham?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Board member Dr. Brooks Buck?
Yes.
Board member Byram?
Yes.
Board member Riddick?
Yes.
Board member Slinglove?
No.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair Jenkins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Now we have discussion of amendment number 12425.
Madam Chair, I'm going to move down to the podium as Ms. Forsman and I, we're going to tag team this amendment to make sure that that information is clear. All right, just want to state for the record that Board Member Dr. Brittingham had an emergency and had to leave. Okay, so this is the budget amendment, and I just want to make sure, because for the second year in a row, this is going to be a unique situation for all 132 school divisions in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Like I said in my previous narrative, General Assembly signed into law, Governor Youngkin signed into law on May 16th the budget. Our budget was already had been appropriated for the amount on May 1st by the city. However, now that the CAL tool, which came out today, Ms. Forsman and I have been putting our heads together based on estimates and predictions. And just to make sure that our school community and school board understands the order of things, we are going to give you all the breakdown of the $5.859 million and how we are going to use that money to fully fund the raise, as well as to take care of health benefits and some additional positions at our schools, plus the special education coordinator that I had mentioned to you all during my February 29th superintendent's proposed budget. After the board hears this discussion, tomorrow I'll send the city manager a letter that details specifically what is in our presentation. Ms. Forsman, the city manager, and the director of finance, Charles Meeks, we actually met last week and reviewed this information, but we thought it was proper and appropriate to make sure that the school board heard this first before this information was going to be presented to city council. The letter will be nothing more than the highlights of what I'm going to discuss in our amendment today for the budget. At the June 4th City Council meeting, we are then going to ask for the City Council to appropriate this additional $5.859 million. We already have the expenditures that are going to be laid out in this presentation. Both Ms. Forsman and I will also be at the City Council meeting on June 5th in case there are questions from the City Council. Once City Council then approves this amendment and approves this adjustment, we will then come back to the school board on June 13th to ask for the quote-unquote final adoption, since the new money will now be added to this with the specific positions that we have listed here. So I wanted to be able to provide that executive summary as we go through this discussion so that you all understand how it all works. Ms. Forsman, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. So as Dr. Gordon said, the state has allotted another $5.8 million to us. And again, the City Council has to appropriate that first before we come back to you as an amendment. Once they do that, as signed by the governor, this will be our new budget that we'll bring to you on June 13th. As you can see, the operating fund moves to $204 million. The other funds stay the same. The state budget as signed by the governor provides for a 3% raise for all staff. It adds additional at-risk SOQ money, which also has a match requirement to it. It splits it between that and the lottery. It also removes the digital sales tax and has additional ELL requirements, and ELL is English language learners. So to provide the 3% raise, if you remember in our original budget, the governor had proposed a bonus, and we did a step raise. We had kept the bonus money as revenue in that budget book because we wanted to get as much funding as we could towards our raise. We had to at least give the bonus, but we gave a raise. So in order to get the true cost of the 3% raise, you have to put that revenue that was removed from the governor's budget back in as part of that 1%. So $653,004 was removed from the revenue as bonus money to give us the 3% raise. Then the second percentage and third percent, as you can see, cost $1.475 million for a total of $3.6 million. To do the raise, we will give a step, as in the original now adopted budget, plus we will give a cost of living adjustment. For teachers, that means For steps 0 through 10, a 1%. For steps 11 through 20, they'll get the cost of living adjustment plus 1.5%. And for steps 21 through 34, they'll get a step plus a 1.75%.
Thank you, Ms. Forsman. And so one of the things that we have continued to do every year now this being my 5th budget cycle is to continue to increase our teacher salaries. So with this increase in money, our new teacher salary is going to start at $55,141. The top of the scale is step 34 plus would be $90,122. As you all also know, we were one of the first school divisions in the region, if not in the state, to also get over the minimum wage. That minimum wage is also going to increase from $15.41 to $15.72. Now, here are our recommendations based on the course requests that we are seeing from our students. We will need 3 additional teachers. The first is that we are expanding our JROTC program at Kings Fork High School, the Navy Cadet program. We also, based on course requests, need to have an additional career and technical education teacher at Kings Fork High School. Dr. Skinner, as you all know, has continued to add additional electives, and now we'll have more certifications for our students to be able to obtain. As you all know, when we originally started the Center for Performing and Production Arts, we had a phase-in process for the total number of pathways we were going to have. Now that the program is actually in year 3, we now need an additional theater teacher at Lakeland High School. During my budget presentation in February, I also mentioned that if we did get the money from the state like we were hoping that we were going to receive, I would like to add an additional special education coordinator. Our special education population in Suffolk Public Schools is currently sitting at around 15%, with more IEPs being completed every day. That also does not include the students that have 504 plans. So Dr. Branch is working with both Ms. Shirley as well as our new special education director, Dr. McNair, to determine the potential job description, specific job description for this new role, more than likely with a focus on compliance. Now here is the big key for us. As you all know, throughout the country, and probably throughout the world, health insurance, or for us specifically benefits, has increased. We would like to use $1.5 million of the $5.8 new money that we're receiving to take care of the health insurance and benefits increase. It is our goal to always make sure that anytime we are providing a raise to our staff, that they can actually see it within their paycheck. And with these health insurance increases, we were concerned that people potentially could see less money in their paycheck. So Suffolk Public Schools is what we're presenting to you all, is that we want to pay 99% of the health insurance and benefits costs that normally would have been passed on to the employee. Based on my research, I do not see another school division in the region that is doing that, that's going to absorb those costs for health insurance and benefits. I also mentioned to you all in my February superintendent's proposed budget that we were going to purchase the Zero Eyes enhanced security camera software. The Zero Eyes system works as follows. In 90% of the school shootings or other traumatic incidents that happen on school property, the assailant brandishes the weapon at least 30 seconds before there's an actual attack or there's an actual event. With the Zero Eye software, emergency services here in the city of Suffolk will receive immediate notification of the location of where the knife or the weapon was being shown, and they will be able to pinpoint and more than likely track where the assailant is going to go. We were originally looking to use this potentially for end of the year operating funds, but we want to be able to use a large portion of that to be able to provide the bonus that the board has voted on previously. Also, with that new Navy Cadet program at Kings Fork High School, this also means that we need new uniforms and new supplies. We are really thoroughly impressed, and I commend the work of Dr. Lee and our high school principal, specifically Mr. Bryan at Kings Fork High School. We now have more students that are involved in our JROTC programs. So we would need $70,000 for uniforms and supplies for that new program. As Ms. Forsman has always talked about, and I've always tried to reassure all of our staff, anytime we give raises, we want to be able to give raises to everyone. So our permanent part-time staff, because they are part-time, we try to divide things in half. This is the reason why you see a 1.5% raise and a step differential based on where they are on the scale of 0.5 to 0.75%. This guarantees, once again, for the 5th year in a row, that all of our staff in Suffolk Public Schools will see a raise. That cost would be $246,203. So when you break this all down, just to show that we are having full level and transparency for our expenditures for this new money, The personnel costs are approximately $4.189 million. The benefits, as I mentioned, this is huge for us, at $1.5 million. The zero-hour security camera system at $100,000. That will also be a reoccurring cost. So we want to make sure that we budget for that every year. And the Navy cadet supplies will be $70,000. Those total up to the $5.859,207. And that is the end of our budget amendment that we will now open up for questions or discussion. Once again, we will also, pending City Council approval, we will bring this back to the board again at our June 13th meeting.
Thank you. First of all, I'd just like to say everything that you have in here, and like you said, we need the JROTC, the junior ROTC, because it keeps our students occupied in something positive. So I am all for that, and thank you to whoever is responsible for that and putting it in the schools. And I wish we could do even more, because again, that's getting something out there for our kids to do something positive and keep them out of the streets, and maybe be the protector of the streets and get that in their mindset. And we definitely need another special ed employee, because we have a lot. And we see what's going on in the schools, not just Suffolk Public Schools, but we need to be able to service all that we have coming to our, Suffolk Public Schools. So thank you for your presentation. You have allocated the money well, and it is my hope that City Council is on the same page that we're on for Suffolk Public Schools. Mr. Riddick, you have anything to say?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. My questions in regards to making sure that we're giving our staff the best for the bang here. Regarding benefits, is there, or has there been, I know it hasn't been in my 4 years of being, 5 years being on the board, have there been any conversation in times past between the City of Suffolk and Suffolk Public Schools possibly purchasing insurance together? I think that would be one way we could drive our costs down. I think this is something that, if it was discussed prior to, it should be worthwhile of revisiting, but I'm open to.
Suffolk Public Schools is self-insured, which means that it's a benefit, not an insurance. So if you think about your car insurance, you pay that. When you have a claim, they pay the claim. What happens with Suffolk Public Schools is every time any of our employees that are on the benefit go to the doctor, what they don't pay, Suffolk Public Schools pays dollar for dollar. So we save the best money by doing that, because there is not an insurance company taking on the risk and taking that difference. So claims are claims, and they're not going to be any lower by changing to an insurance. It'll be much higher to go to an insurance product. There is no benefit in going in with the city, because they would pay their claims. They're also self-insured. We would pay our claims. We're self-insured. So our claims and what our folks spend every year are exactly what is spent at the doctor's office.
Okay, thank you so much. The other question that I had is in regards to the ROTC program, the $70,000. Have we explored other possible funding sources for that, if it does exist? That way we could appropriate the money somewhere else and use grant or partnership money for that type of stuff.
Yes, we have, and one of the things that Dr. Lee and Dr. Bird is taking a look at, not only the grant opportunities that you're talking about, which kind of come along pretty rare, we've actually challenged some of our ROTC leaders to help assist us. And one of the things that we've kind of noticed is that when they participate in some of their competitions, they also get revenue back sometimes if they win or if they place out. So as the program continues to expand, Mr. Riddick, one of the things that we're going to look at is having that grant opportunity, because we're offering multiple ROTC programs instead of one. And we also have to make sure that we meet the minimum threshold for the total number. In the past, at Lakeland High School, for example, we've received letters because the numbers have dropped. So now we're trying to not only improve it at Lakeland, improving it for the overall school division for the total number of kids enrolled gives us access to more grant opportunities. So put a pin in that one and ask me in about a year after we'll be able to kind of show that we have an increased enrollment in JROTC.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Barham, you have any questions?
No, I just wanted to make a couple of comments, thanking Ms. Forsman and all her team for working on these figures for us. And I'm very happy that we now have the 5.8 million to move forward. And I'm looking at health insurance and that 99%. I think that's a great benefit to our employees, and also the fact that we have instituted the Suffolk Public Schools pharmacy, this year. I think this is something that is an additional benefit to our employees, and I look forward to us continuing those things. And I'm glad that we are investing in the safety and security of those new cameras that Dr. Gordon has been speaking of for a few months now, especially interested in pursuing more things like that. They're my only comments at this time.
Thank you. Board Member Slingler?
I just want to say I'm very, very excited for the raise for teachers, that we were able to not only give them the step, but also the additional 2% to bring them up to 3%. I think that is much needed. I would like to, see that continue to be the main thrust that we start with the budget. I want to do whatever we need to do to support our special education students. So I'm in favor of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Buck?
Yes. I too am excited about the things that we're planning on doing with the money. I do want to say, Madam Chair, that we for at least 2 years attempted to have a program, an insurance program with the city, realizing that we are the largest private employee in the city, and it did not work for multiple reasons, but it didn't work. So as we've worked things out now, I think we're doing a good job, and I think things are going well. But we did attempt to do that. We worked very hard on that, and it just didn't come to pass. I am pleased, too, with our pharmacy and all the things that we've done. I love the fact that we're looking at the 99%, looking at bringing down the health care cost, because we did go through a period where teachers were given a raise, employees were given a raise, not just teachers, but our employees were given a raise, and then the cost of everything was going up, and they didn't actually see it in their checks. As a matter of fact, they saw less money in their checks because other costs were going up. So this is just really impressive, and I want to thank you all for coming up with the innovations that you've come up with. Thank you so much. And as a former special educator, I know that special ed slot is needed and necessary, and compliance is critical. So if that's what you all are thinking, I know it's needed. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I know that there is legislation in Congress as well with regard to ROTC and some of the things that they're doing with ROTC and junior ROTC and some of the programs. I want to say this with regard to ROTC and coming from a military family. It's not just keeping kids busy, which is important, that's critical, but it's also teaching the kinds of skills to have respect for one another, to come together as teams and realize that we're all one group, a human race and a group of people that better know how to learn to work together and live together so that all of us can survive and keep this planet going. Thank you so much for your work. We appreciate it.
Vice Chair?
Thank you both for that presentation. I don't have any questions because we dialogued during this presentation during the Finance Committee, so I'm just going to reiterate what I learned so that the folks that are tuning in to this streamed meeting will hear what my feedback was. I asked if this special ed position was intended to absorb the shuffling, if you will, of the SPED liaisons that are changing a bit next year. And the response given was that this is still a work in progress, that Dr. Branch is still trying to define the parameters of this position, depending upon the city council approval and then our approval in June, and that it is more of intended and hoped to be more of a legal focus to handle the compliance issues, as Dr. Buck said, and that some of the burden dispersed from the liaisons that are changing will be shuffled with at the admin level. So those were my questions and the answers given to me.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. High five. That's We have no further discussion. Meeting adjourned.
Study for ninth grade biology.